This knot is real tight.
Robert, I did not know his identity.
Sylvester explained. His face was a deathly pallor as he wiped away the sweat on his forehead.
You don't know? It can't be.
He elegantly leaned sideways on the billiard table. Playing with the chalk in his hand, he said in a soft voice,
Clearly, you look down on me, Robert.
Sylvester's expression completely changed. He drastically paled from fright and rushed to defend.
Mr. Robert, you've misunderstood me. Previously, I didn't know that Martin is your younger brother.
The curve on Robert's lips remained, but his voice was unbelievably chilly.
Ha! Sylvester, I, Robert, don't care where you come from. But the moment you stepped foot into this capital, you should have known whose territory it is. I know. I've always known. You know? You know, yet you dare snatch away my territory.
Eyeing him through his peripheral, Robert stepped his polished shoe on the old man's hand with a great amount of force and demanded fiercely,
Know whose name has been carved over the capital? Who do you think you are? You're in Lee territory, yet you don't follow the rules. Do you think I will tolerate you?
Sylvester was in so much pain, his face lost all its color. At that moment, he thought things through again and came to realize which incident the man was talking about. His complexion instantly turned white.
I don't dare do that, Mr. Lee. You misunderstood. I absolutely don't mean that. A great man won't remember the faults of small men. Please don't lower yourself to the same level as me.
He grasped the ends of Robert's trousers as he pleaded in earnest. Little did he know that this overture had broken the man's taboo.
Tss.
Robert pursed his lips thinly and creased his brows in detest.
Look, you've dirtied my pants. What shall be done in return?
As soon as he said that, he stretched his leg out and kicked him away. Sylvester tumbled about in shame. He lay in paralysis at the corner of the table as he suffered heavy bruising from the impact. He was in such pain, he involuntarily took a gasp of cold air. His eyeballs started jerking about when he saw the man's well-trained underlings coming over to him, expressionlessly. One could only hear an absolutely shrill shriek. In a flash, blood gushed forth like a river within the room. Sylvester cradled his broken arm. His entire face was swollen red from extreme pain. His battered body rolled around as he wailed pathetically. Robert spared him a cold look before turning to leave the room. Drake and Benjamin followed him. Before Martin left, he walked over to the painfully writhing old man and gripped his neck apathetically.
Let me warn you, don't harbor any thoughts about her.
The her he was referring to here was Monica. Sylvester, who was in a stupor from the pain, only knew to nod furiously at anything. At ease, Martin also departed from the room. As soon as he was out of the room, he took out his phone and read the message Monica had sent to him. He inferred that it was already late and that she was probably back at her house now. A vehicle drove to a mountain villa. Monica glanced outside the window. The villa was completed a year ago, yet it still did not have a name. Following the man out of the vehicle, she was suddenly pulled into his arms. Her head hit his chest at once, and she furrowed her brows at the slight pain she felt. When she looked up, she only saw him laughing with mischief in his eyes. "Aren't you going to send me home?" She flared up in her rage. "Why are we here?"
I miss you. Stay with me tonight,
the man said. He was a little delighted to have his way. If Andres were to learn that his kindergarten's dull summer camp was orchestrated by a certain man, he would surely seethe in anger. Returning to the villa, she started to get a little restless and sat down on the sofa without moving. She observed the man, who had just taken a shower, pace back and forth in front of her leisurely. He put on a loose bathrobe and casually dried his damp hair with a towel. Her eyes could not help but stare at his slightly exposed chest. Her face began to burn at what she saw, and then she looked away. Stefan moved toward the cellarway to pour himself a glass of vodka. From his peripheral, he took a cold glance at the woman who was sitting still on the sofa. She seemed to be afraid of something and to be avoiding something. He started to roam the business market since he was 18. He had to say that some women were indeed good schemers. Even shrewd businessmen on the market had to consider themselves as inferior to them. In stark contrast, this little woman in front of him was purely simple and transparent. One could easily perceive what she was thinking from her expression. How could she hide her thoughts from him at all? He finished savoring the glass of wine in leisure, yet she remained frozen on the same spot, as if she were sitting on a cushion full of pins. She lowered her head and stared into space, letting her mind wander. Thus, he asked,
Aren't you going to bathe?
I'll do it later.
I'll be waiting for you in the room.
Once he said that, he entered the bedroom, minding his business, and gave no further glances at her. Monica was dazed. Her eyes followed the man into the bedroom, but even after a long time, she did not move an inch. She lay in wait for quite some time, and eventually surmised that the man had probably gone to sleep. Hence, glancing right and left, she concluded he was too tired and went to bed. She then started her exploration of the room. The spacious bedroom was connected to the lounge. A cloakroom, a bathroom, a study room, a cellarway, and even a bar. This place had everything. She again sat on the sofa for quite a while before she walked into the bathroom. She took a quick bath with a confused heart. Before she stepped out of the bathroom, she tightened the knot on her bathrobe belt subconsciously, but she ended up tying a dead knot by accident. She was then a little more at ease. When she entered the bedroom, the wall lights were still lit. He left them on for her. However, he seemed to be fast asleep. The man, whose large physique lay sideways, occupied 2/3 of the bed. She was secretly in joy and climbed into bed carefully. She moved cautiously, worried of making any sound. Before she could lie down steadily, she felt someone turning over beside her. This movement startled her so much, her heart skipped a beat. While she was taken aback, the man stretched his hand out to pull her toward him by force. His large palms then moved toward the knot of her bathrobe belt without her permission. He tugged on the bathroom belt, which was accidentally tied into a dead knot. The corner of his lips pulled up to form a sinister smile as he said mischievously,
This knot is really tight.
Her face became scalding red. Feeling somewhat embarrassed, she turned away.